This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and today we're going to take a look at the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction, from the cartoon collection. And up in the corner we've got the little 80s adventures, and we have the Castle Grayskull that was often seen in the transformation scene for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I'm guessing they couldn't really get the rights to use the name Filmation on the front, but so be it. On the back, we just see, as seen on Masks of Power, modernizing and celebrating the original 80s Masters of the Universe animated series. And we get to see Skeletor with the different masks that you can swap his head with. I wonder if we'll get the two characters, though, that actually went with the Masks of Power in the future, if this part of it goes on long enough. We, of course, have He-Man, Beastman, Man-at-Arms, and Skeletor shown on the cross cell. And today, we will also be opening this up using a knife, so I can try to save the back in case I decide I want to use this image for my thumbnail. And hopefully I don't cut myself like I did when I was cutting Tunnel Rat free from his box. Also a little concerned I'm going to weave it close to that comic book. Oh, shit. I definitely started cutting into the image. Now let's take a look at the comic first, shall we? Wizard's Vizard. Vizard? Vizard sounds better. Here we show Skeletor going to get the Masks of Power, but he has used a spell in order to keep it from taking him over as it did the previous time he has worn it. This does seem to be perhaps a follow-up to the cartoon episode. And with the power changing, I guess you could say the mask turned into the cloak he's wearing now. And of course, the spirit inside is trapped in a jar. He collects some wyverns to attack his plan to take over the cities of Eternia. Man-at-Arms and He-Man discuss the way to counter-strike, where Man-at-Arms gives He-Man a teleportation pen. Yeah, a pen. That's right. I guess the pen is mightier than the sword. With only 2 charges to use. And tells He-Man that they will use a special ray to put the wyverns in stasis. And as their plan works, He-Man teleports into Snake Mountain to confront Skeletor. And they fight. And Skeletor has the other half of the Power Sword, which I'm assuming is a problem with the artwork, and probably should have been his Havoc Staff instead. And of course they have their little discussion. Skeletor mocks He-Man as he holds onto the edge of Snake Mountain, and tells him that you can't actually destroy the masks without the Sword of Ancients, which in the cartoon episode I believe became part of the Sword of Power. But what He-Man does instead is use the last charge of his pen to teleport the mask to someplace else, looking like outer space. The stasis rays lose their power as Skeletor loses his, and thus the dragons are free, and they start attacking Snake Mountain in revenge for what Skeletor did to them. And this line here in the corner, I think, is texted to the wrong character, because it says, "No need to walk me to the door, I'll see myself out." That sounds like something He-Man should be saying at that moment in time, since they're supposed to be in Snake Mountain there. Anyway, the good guys win, the bad guy loses, and all celebrate. And of course, we have the standard cross-sell on the back. Now let's go ahead and get our Skeletor out. Oh, wow. I did not realize he was going to come with the Power Sword. I have not looked at any reviews or anything that people have done for this line, so. Cartoon Havoc staff. Count them, 2 Masks of Power. And so we have our cartoon style Skeletor. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation real quick. His head's at a ball joint. Goes up, down, spins around. There is that little hinge that's in there too as well. His arm can go up, down, spin around. However, it is hindered by his harness, which is coming loose right now. We've got a single joint at the elbow where we can hinge up and down. Of course, there's a little bit of spin there too for the pin that holds it in place. The hand has a spin, and of course, the in and out articulation. You can also spin at the waist, kick up yay far, kick back yay far. The knee bends, not quite 90 degrees. We do have the boot cut, and we have a ankle rocker, hinge, and a spin. Now, as mentioned before, the Masks of Power are, of course, swappable with his head. There he's got the little girly face on him. She looks kind of pissed. And we got the male's head here, the male mask, with his glorious beard and big old nose. Comparison-wise, of course, well, not comparison-wise, but anyway, his harness back here is designed a lot like He-Man's, except for once you loosen it, it does not want to come off again. Or, no, actually, all it wants to do is come off. I think this might be one of those things where you need to heat it up afterwards in order to get it back on, but maybe I got it that time finally. We'll find out. He, of course, comes with his Havoc staff, where it's got the made out of 2 plastics here, the staff part being separate from the skull head, and the skull head having all this extra here, kind of like it's a 1980s country singer woman. I think it would have looked a lot, I think, now again, this is what the cartoon looked like more so I think the staff itself would look better though if you could cut out this middle section, which is a possibility, or who knows, maybe Barbarossa Customs will actually do something like that himself. The surprising part to me was, of course, that he comes with a power sword. And it's a full power sword. I was not expecting that, considering this is Skeletor, and this is supposed to be the cartoon version, where he did not have a power sword. Comparative-wise to the previous Skeletor, just to note, you can put the sword in the backpack of the Skeletor, or in the back of his harness, on the Origins one and on the Vintage one. You can't do it on this one. Sword-wise, aside from the fact that the one is darker than the other, although the color on the Origins Skeletor is always kind of weird anyway, the Cartoon Collection sword is taller than the Origin style. The handle itself is slightly bigger as well, not by much. And of course, the guards combined together here so that unlike the other power sword where, you know, you could actually trap the sword in there. In this case, the sword will bounce off of there and possibly, depending upon the positioning, cut the arm of the person who's holding the power sword. The blades itself is a lot longer on the new one as well, which I think is a better thing to have done in the first also. You know, the one thing I haven't done is actually compared the vintage sword to the origin sword. I should dig one out and do that. Of course, the Origins one does not come with a mask of power, so we can't compare that part. Oh man, I'm gonna have to take that harness off again too. Let's go pop some body parts off here real quick so we can get a good look at the torso. This will come in handy in the future anyway. For all that time I put into doing that though. Cartoon Collection, of course, has a brand new torso. It actually does appear to be a little bit taller, although it might also just be the positioning of it. The origin style, the body torso on the men do have nipples on them. You can barely see them, but they are there. None on there at the Cartoon Collection at all. The designs of the biceps and, of course, the six-pack and abs and everything are much different. They do not stand out quite as much on the Cartoon Collection as they do in the Origins, nor do they have as much man cleavage as the Origins does. Comparing the arms, the biceps are new, as is the forearm, although in this case it'd have to be because the, you know, Cartoon Skeletor doesn't have the fins that the original one did. But even so, the muscles themselves are designed differently as well. They had maybe a origin style hand, but it looks like it's probably like a human hand because it does not have the thicker fingernails or the more stiletto-ish nails that the Origins version had. Also, to note, the color match between the arm plastic and the chest plastic is off. And if you look inside here, hopefully you can see it, the plastic used for the joint is the same as the body, whereupon the plastic for the arms is different. It's a softer plastic, it feels like, than this one. I don't know if you can hear the difference there. Harness wise, of course, Origins has a different style harness. It's a lot more detailed than the cartoon one, having the the crossbones on the front are much shorter, and they don't have the more bone-like details going up the armor like the previous one did either. Also, we don't have the rivets. Though there is still 4 little flappy things on the shoulders, and we still have the rivets on the shoulders. It's just slightly different. Well, not slightly different. And of course, this is more of a covering than the shoulder harness was here. Bringing us back to the skirt piece. Of course, the Origins one has the more vintage style where the belt actually has a, well, I have absolutely no idea what that would be called at the moment. My brain is just totally blanked out. But anyway, the locking part is there, so you can take it on and off, whether he's been taken apart, the figure itself, or not, whereupon this is a full loop where you will have to pull the figure apart in order to get it off. The details on the flaps are a lot, well, the flaps themselves are a lot bigger on the Cartoon Collection one than they are here. There's only 3 of them instead of the 4, and he does not have the little buckle thing at the top. Head-wise, I mean, pretty much anything is an improvement over the open mouth that they gave the Origin Skeletor, let's be honest. And this does look more like a human skull to me than this one does. I will say, I would like to see this version of the head painted more like this, though, just to see how it looks. And of course, and I guess this technically is the same, well, not quite. So the hood on the Origins head is a separate piece from the head itself, whereupon the hood is the head here, and then the face is a separate piece, molded in, of course, respective plastics, so that this does match with the rest of it much better. Also, of course, Cartoon Collection doesn't have the glowing red eyes. Like I said, I would definitely like to see this painted more like this. I don't have that kind of skill, although I might still give it a shot, even if I do get my hands on another Skeletor for a reasonable price. And that, when we get to the legs, the thighs are new, as are the upper calves, although it is kind of hard to tell. There are some subtle differences between the two. The crotch piece is also new, and it kind of looks like it might be just a little bit bigger than the Origins one. Plus, the belt has absolutely no details. The pegs on top are also different sizes, the Cartoon Collection one being larger than the Origins one. And of course, the boots, definitely different detailing, aside from the fact that we've got kind of like this scale furry looking thing here. He has the 3 toes with the claws, where he's actually just wearing boots on the cartoon version. So they actually are boots, whereupon who knows if these are supposed to be boots, spats, or his actual feet. One thing to note, however, is I can put the cartoon version of the torso on the body, but as I mentioned before, it is thicker, and though you could probably force it in there, I'm not sure you could get it back off again, and I'm not going to risk that. You can still swap the arms around, but again, the pegs on the cartoon ones are just a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit harder to get in there and out, but a lot easier than I think that one is. Same with the boots. You put the boot on this one, it's definitely a lot looser than when you put the Origins on the Cartoon Collection one here. We have body parts all over the place. Ah, crap. And of course, you have to take them apart to get that harness apart. Oh yeah. The head itself is still compatible with both, which makes sense because I think the Masterverse heads also fit on the pegs too. This stupid freaking harness back here, man. I swear. I think that will conclude our look at the cartoon version of Skeletor. I would definitely not recommend taking his harness off if you don't have to for whatever reason. If I get it back on there properly, I will not be taking it off again, and I think I will probably have to heat it up in order to do that. It was a pleasant surprise to come with the full power sword there for the Cartoon Collection. I do prefer the Havoc staff that came with this one to the vintage Origin style. Aside from the big poofy hairdo there on the back, get rid of that center section, and that would be a glorious Havoc staff. The face looks good. I would like to see it painted like the vintage, or more more akin to the original classic Skeletor head, where they had the yellow and the green kind of merge into each other, and in a nice fade or gradient that looked really beautiful. Well, I mean, gross, but beautifully done. Anyway, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace and love.